evening, everybody. We're going to be led in the pledge by Mr. Levenstein. Roll call, please.
Ms. Boulay?
Here.
Mr. Buarelli?
Present.
Mr. DeRay?
Present.
Ms. Green? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levenstein? Here. Ms. Politti? Here. Mr. Sturdier?
Here. First item on the agenda is resolution to appoint clerk pro tem. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Motion. Second.
Who was the first? Thank
Mr.
you.
DeRay. Roll call.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Levenstein?
Yes.
Ms. Politti? Mr. Sturdier?
Yes. Item 2.1, public comment on agenda items. We do not have anybody signed up on agenda items. Would anybody like to speak on that? Okay. We move to 3.1, public comment on non-agenda items. We have one person signed up to speak, William Devine.
Sorry, I apologize if I was signing in.
Okay. And anybody?
I wasn't sure.
Would anybody else like to speak on non-agenda items? All right. Item 4.1, executive session. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose: matter made confidential under FERPA, employment history of particular individuals, matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, the review of programs and placements of students with disabilities, collective bargaining under the Taylor Law, NTA, NSAA, CSEA, and to obtain advice from legal counsel. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Levenstein?
Yes.
Ms. Politti? Mr. Sturdier?
Yes, we'll be returning in approximately 45 minutes.
Over the summer, the district has hosted dozens of enrichment programs for hundreds of students through our ESYP 21st Century and Empire programs. Several high school students have participated in paid internships throughout the county sponsored by the Orange County Youth Bureau, applying their classroom knowledge to real-world professions in our area. Additionally, we have joined with the Newburgh Armory Unity Center and hosted our own literacy engagement activities to promote a love of reading and learning for our students and their families beyond the traditional school year. We have also hosted recovery opportunities for those scholars who may have needed additional time or support to grasp the content required to be promoted to the next grade. On Monday, we look forward to completing our class of 2023 as the remaining members walk across Academy Field to receive their high school diploma. Tomorrow, we will be hosting a Jumpstart Jamboree for all pre-K and kindergarten scholars. We hope that students and their families join us for fun and engaging learning activities to jumpstart our scholars' school readiness. There will be snacks, games, and learning activities, as well as backpacks for our youngest learners. This event will take place from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Gigney Avenue Memorial School. This Saturday, we are hosting our annual Back to School Bash, a tradition that has spanned the decades. This event will be held from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Newburgh Free Library Plaza. Donations for that event are being accepted at the Board of Education through August 18th to help supplement the supplies the district is providing for the event. We are thankful for anyone who contributes toward helping educate our children, whether that be through the donation of items, time, or of professional expertise. In the upcoming weeks, our schools will be hosting transitional events for those joining a new school community from a previous grade band. And into September, we look forward to seeing our families in our schools at our back-to-school evening events. As the new school year approaches, we continue to remain focused on our purpose and those we serve. Every goal back, every day. This concludes my update for this evening. Thank you very much. Tonight, I present item 5.2 for your consideration.
Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Second.
Any questions on this item? Roll call. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Politi?
Yes.
That concludes my items for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell. Move on to item Clerk of the Board, 6.1, approval of the minutes for the August 8th, 2023 regular meeting. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Any questions on the minutes? Roll call.
Ms. Politi? Yes. Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Levinstein?
All right, we're moving on to 7.1, President's Update. I only have one item, just a comment. I've been here a month. It's been an interesting month. A lot of things have been said and back and forth, and I think there are a lot of things that, to me, were obviously untrue about what I did or said in emails. So what I would like to do is I'm going to authorize the records officer to release all of my emails from July 6, 2023 that I have been involved in, unredacted, so that everybody can see, full transparency, what I've said, what I've done, and let the people see for themselves who's the dictator and who is the person that's trying to bring people together and trying to move the district forward so that for the first day of school, we're ready. That'll close my item. Thank you. Ms. Politi.
I just have one question. So we have a board retreat scheduled for this Friday, and I'm glad that the rest of the board decided to join, because that's what we should be doing. We should be learning how to work together and collaborate. However, my question is that our board clerk called me and said, would you mind if the executive team joined? And I said, yes, by all means. And by rationale, we should be working collaboratively with them. I would even be comfortable as going so far if we're having this professional, one of the biggest lawyers in the state from NISPA, training us. Why wouldn't we want them trained with us? And why wouldn't we want to even bring in building level administration so that they could also be trained and we could know that we're all on the same team? So that's just my question, why we can't all get together.
Sure. I understand your question. Right now, the board itself has a lot of dysfunction, and it's visible. We need that time as a board to have that one-on-one time with Mr. Rorona, and Mr. Shaw's advice was that this board retreat, the first retreat, would be for the board. Later on, if we want to include other people involved in that, but the issues that been out in the public need to get worked out first, and then we can move on to advance with the rest of the team.
But, Mr. Stridiron, shouldn't that be a board decision?
Mr. Shaw?
It certainly is a board decision. Mr. Stridiron has stated what my advice was. Also based upon experience, typically the retreat with the school boards is somewhat limited to the board team and the superintendent, maybe a deputy superintendent. The amount of time that's available to work with Jay Rorona or someone else from NISBA is relatively limited. So it is my opinion that first and foremost is about the board relationship with the superintendent and the deputy, and later on, if it is to be broadened out, that would also be appropriate.
This is just the first of many board retreats that we'll have, and we'll expand it as needed, because we do need to expand. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that, because I think that that's, hearing that we're going to have more, that's a very good thing, and knowing that we're all unified, that's also a very good thing.
Thank you, Ms. Politi. Move on to Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Mr. McLemore.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the Human Resources agenda, I have items 8.1 through 8.13 for your consideration on tonight.
Would anyone like to separate any of these items? Ms. Boulay.
8.9 and 8.10.
Mr. Levinstein?
8.7 and 8.8.
So we can entertain a motion for items 8.1 to 8.13 minus items 8.7 through 8.10. Can I have a second? Any discussion on those items? Roll call, please.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Politi?
Move on to item 8.7. Can I have a motion and a second? Discussion on this item? Mr. Levinstein.
I believe that the date needs to be changed on this item from October 2nd to October 7th to October 2nd. Is that,
So we'll need a motion to amend that item. Will you make that motion?
is that the correct dates?
From October 4th to October 2.
October 4th. Okay, so I make a motion to amend this resolution to state the October 4th date will be changing to October 2nd.
Need a second?
Second?
Roll call to amend?
Amend, right? Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Now we vote on the amendment? On the motion as amended. Roll call?
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Politi?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes. Item 8.8. Can I have a motion and a second? And do I have a motion here on 8.8 to table?
So moved.
What's the motion?
To table. Do I have a second?
We're not tabling that.
Wait. 8.8 is table. Do we have a second?
Second?
Yes. Roll call, please.
Ms. Politi? Yes. Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Politi?
Item 8. Item 8.9. Can I have a motion and a second? Any questions on this item? Roll call?
Ms. Boulay?
No.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Politi? Mr. Stridiron?
No. No.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to 2. Okay. Mhm. No,
Miss,
we had 8.1.
oh, 8.10, okay. Can I have a second and a motion for 8.10?
Second.
Any questions on this item? Ms. Boulay?
Yes, I just have a quick question. It's my understanding that there are many candidates for the Regents this week, Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday, maybe like 900 for just math. So these additions that are here, the question is, do we have enough? Are we covered? Do we need more people?
As an administrator, I always want more. However, on day one, our Algebra 1 exam, we currently have 353 students registered to sit for the exam. We have 20 proctors, we have 26 proctors and 15 scorers. For our ELA exam, we have 379 students registered, and we have those will be scored by Premier. That is a contractual matter for us. We have 26 proctors. For that particular exam, we have extended time conflicts. They are both scheduled by SED at the same time in the morning. We have an additional 75 proctors for that portion of the extended time. And on in the afternoon, Global 2, we have 324 students registered with 32 scorers and 32 proctors and 7 scorers. Algebra 2 in the afternoon, we have 154 students registered with 12 proctors and 13 scorers. Extended time conflicts for those two exams, we have 76 students with accommodations, and we have an additional 10 proctors for the extended time students. On day 2, for Earth Science, we have 218 students registered with 18 proctors and 7 scorers. Chemistry, 87 students with 8 proctors and 3 scorers. U.S. History, 250 students, 22 proctors and 5 scorers. Extended time conflicts, 25 students with 9 additional proctors. Day 2 in the afternoon, Geometry, 243 students, 18 proctors and 14 scorers. Living Environment, 294 students registered, 18 proctors, and 7 scorers. And last but not least, in that 2 exams, extended time conflicts and accommodations, 25 students with an additional 8 proctors. While this is my first year back in the district and quite some number of years, I am told that we have the greatest number of accommodations and extended time students that we have had in quite some time. And additionally, with the scheduling that SED, in their infinite wisdom, arranged for us, we have 2 of our major exams on both of those days back to back. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a situation on 8.7 where I voted yes, but I intentionally, I misvoted, and I wanted to vote no. So, Mr. Shaw, what's the process for me to bring this back up so I can vote no?
Someone who voted for it would have to make a motion, and also you would have to state your rationale for why your vote should be reconsidered.
I thought I was voting for the amendment, but I really was voting for the final. I misvoted. I had it circled as a no, and I voted to amend because the tenure area was 4 years. I was just changing the dates, but I voted yes to amend, but I thought I was voting for something different. I would like to change my vote on that.
There was a vote on the amendment to change the October 4 to October 2,
Yes.
and you intended to vote yes for that, but then you thought you were voting a second time on that?
Yes. I thought I was.
Well, you'd need a motion, and then by someone who voted for it, and then you would need a second, according to the ruling that we made last week.
Okay, so I make a motion to amend my vote to a no, or revote this item. I originally voted yes.
So we have a motion, we need a second.
Second?
So we revote the item?
Yes.
Do I have to do a second and a motion to revote the item, or it's already on the table?
Well, this is the motion to do the revote, and then there would be a motion on the vote if this succeeds.
Okay, so,
We would be voting on reopening it.
Right.
so you roll call now? Roll to revote. So are we revoting right now, or we're just voting to bring it back?
You're voting to bring it back.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Strittmatter?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
No.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Levinstein?
No.
Ms. Paletti? No. It didn't pass.
I'd just like to state for the record that my intention was to vote no on this item. Thank you. Mr. McLemore?
Mr. President, permission to add an item on tonight?
Did you vote? You have to vote 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. Item 10. So we have a second in the motion. We had discussion. Any other questions on this item? Roll call for 8.10.
This is the vote on 8 point. Thank you. Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti? Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Boulay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. McLemore?
Mr. President, permission to add
Yes,
an
I
item?
noted that. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to let him vote. Sorry. I'm sorry. What are we looking for?
We're in the sheets for the coaches.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're in the back. Okay.
I want to take this opportunity to welcome our two administrators. We have Dr. Denise Robinson, who's also a resident, so I'm so delighted to make sure that she's joining our team, Director of Secondary ELA. We're looking forward to working with her and ensuring that we have community members working in our district. Ms. Puskancer, Director of Middle School, we also welcome her. Thank you very much for your approval and your recommendation. She's a great addition to our team. Thank you.
So we're going to give you a minute or two to look at this list.
So let me, before you do that, I motioned through the clerk's okay. And so I just need to make this further statement, that it would be really beneficial if the recommendations that the administration makes about qualified candidates that we vet could be approved to join our team, because the more time that we take to get qualified candidates, the further behind it places our students. And I want us to really focus on our students and our making sure that they have the tools to be successful and the folks and the resources to get what they need for school. So I'm really disappointed that this did not move forward, and it seems that the same votes are happening for the administration in terms of the candidates coming forward. So I have to say that I'm extremely disappointed as a superintendent that my recommendations of administrators were not moved forward, and I'm not sure why.
Right now, we're on item 8.14. Did you make a motion to add this item yet? Okay. So you want to add this item to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. President.
All right, so these are the resolution to appoint the Schedule J fall coaching appointments for the 2023 school year, items 1 through 33. Can we have a motion and a second to add this to the agenda?
Motion?
Second.
Roll call to add.
Thank you. Thanks for all the help. Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Politti? Yes. Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
So that was to add.
Okay, to add it, can we have a motion and a second to
Vote on it, right?
vote on it? Motion and a second?
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Politti?
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. Item 9 is Assistant Superintendent of Finance, Ms. Roaring.
The Finance Division presents items 9.1 to 9.6 tonight for the board's consideration.
Would any member like to separate any items? Mr.
Yes,
Moore?
I did. 8.10?
8.13.
Is that okay?
Everyone was a
Yeah,
yes.
everyone was a yes.
Everyone was a yes on 8.14.
My apologies, Mr. Lamar.
So right now, we have items 9.1 to 9.6. We had a second and a motion. Any separation on these items?
I don't have a second in the motion. If
Oh, we don't
did it,
have-
I don't have it.
Okay, second and a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Would anybody like to separate these items?
You should have separated them before. You should separate them.
Okay. No separations.
No separation.
Yeah. Roll call, please.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Politti?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Ms. Roaring. Items 10, Assistant Superintendent, CIO, DPO.
My apology. This resolution, 10.1, comes to you. It reflects the purchase of software that is used for literacy and content area, primarily at the elementary school. I'm sorry, we're doing 10.1. Reflects, thank you. Science.
Can I have a second in the motion? Any discussion on the item? Roll call.
Ms. Politti? Yes. Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
That concludes the items. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. Items 11, Assistant Superintendent Curriculum Instruction Elementary.
Thank you, Mr. President. Elementary curriculum instruction presents 11.1 through 11.3 as consent agenda items.
Would anyone like to separate any items? Ms. Boulay.
May we separate out 11.1 and 11.2?
So each item will be voted on separately. Can I have a second in the motion for 11.1, please? Discussion on this item? Ms. Boulay.
Question on 11.1. So we're purchasing both English and math iReady software packages.
Correct. For the diagnostic and the instructional arm, correct.
So this says elementary. That includes grade 6?
It includes grades K through 8.
Thank you. And last question on this, instructional, are there workbooks that go along with, is the district using this as its math program? And if so, where are the workbooks? Are they included in this price?
So that's the next item. On this item, this is just for the diagnostic and the instructional arm. No workbooks included.
Any other questions on this item? Roll call.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Politti? Mr. Stridiron?
Yes. Item 11.2. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Discussion on this item? Ms. Boulay.
So to be clear, grades K through 8 are all using iReady as the math instructional piece, and this amount includes workbooks.
So yes, this is iReady Classroom. This is the math curriculum that will be piloted K through 8 for our Tier 1 resource for math, correct. And yes, it includes workbooks.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Politti? Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. President, I'd like to add an item this evening.
We have 11.3.
Oh, sorry. I got overexcited.
Sure.
Sorry.
We have 11.3. We need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Any discussion on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Politti? Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Now, Mr. President, I'd like to add an item.
Could you describe the item, and then we'll vote on adding it?
Sure. This would be a resolution for Board Member Trustee Mark Levinstein to attend New York State Local Boards Association Annual Convention and Law Conference in Buffalo, New York, from October 26th through the 28th at a cost of $2,100, and the funding source would be general.
So this will be item 11.4. Can I have a motion and a second to add?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call to add?
Mr. Duray? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Politti? Mr. Stridiron,
Yes.
Ms. Boulay,
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli,
Yes.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
So now that we've added, can I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Levinstein? Mrs. Plitti? Yes. Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Passed.
Mr. DeRay, Mr. DeRay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I always forget somebody. Mr. DeRay? No intention there. It's just
It's equal.
an equal leaving you out opportunity here.
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Ms. Moretti. Item 12, Assistant Superintendent for Exceptional Learners. Mr. Bear.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Exceptional Learner Division has one item, 12.1, for the board's consideration.
Can I have a motion and a second? Any discussion on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Plitti? Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Thank you, Mr. Bear. Don't believe we have any executive, oh, maybe we do.
We do. We need to go into exec.
We're going to executive session. What's the purpose for the executive session?
We're going to discuss personnel.
Going to executive session for the employment history of certain pedagogical personnel. We will not be doing,
We may.
we may be doing business after executive session. Motion and a second, please.
Second.
Roll call. Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Mr. Bugarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Plitti? Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.